Hey everybody, it is Yishan here. It is time in the season for a ban list prediction video, and I think this ban list is extremely important. We just had a huge ban list last ban list round where we hit a ton of the top decks, and I think that was really good for a lot of players, and players have been playing this format, and I've heard mixed things about this format. I think the game was trending in a right direction. You could play a pretty wide variety of decks, but I think players are getting a little bit tired of the play patterns of some of the top decks, Kashtira, Runic, I think being probably the most egregious and sometimes branded in Sprite as well. So I think that this is an extremely important ban list for Konami to nail and get correct, because I think the game is trending in a positive direction and you want to keep it going that way. So I think it's going to be a very important ban list. How do we hit this decks? Let's find out. So starting off with the forbidden cards, I like what Konami has been doing. They have been targeting the cards that just are really make it like impossible to play. And Diablosis the Mind Hacker is sort of a card that makes it impossible to play, but it's almost two-pronged. On one hand, it generates those lock 10 zones boards for Kashtira, and on the other hand, it also can lock you out of the extra and not let you play or even attempt to play the cards that you brought in your deck, right? And it's, there are ways to, of course, play around Diablosis, but I think if it only got rid of cards from your extra deck, I think it would be fine. But the fact that it also makes it so that you can't play the game, like literally can't put a card on the table, is another reason why I think Konami will want to go towards banning this card. Of course, there are other options there, but I think it's just the simplest, right? It's not really that fun to play against. And sort of the whole gimmick is it just takes it too far. So I think easy card to ban. It's not going to hurt the Kashtira deck that much. So we'll have to see if it gets hit on my on other areas on this prediction list. But the second card I think that probably needs to go is Branded Expulsion. Now this is an interesting one. This is just another one of those, like, I faced this a couple times and it's pretty much only Bell that can stop this. Like if their branded player is really good, they can even play around DD Crow by banishing both monsters, right? If they're both banished and you activate this card, then you can't even Bell it either, which is crazy. It summons from banished or grave. So if you just target banished monsters, you can't even Bell it. So I think this card probably has to go. We banned Red Reboot, and I think that's totally fine, but you can't have cards like this that you can main deck and just physically stop you from playing, because everybody needs this special summon. And yeah, it's not even like, it doesn't even hurt you that much because you have so much follow-up, because you can summon back like Aluber or something like that. So it really hurts, and you can't even crash the monster that you summon because it summons in defense and it's summoned on your turn, so you can't change it. So I just think it has to go. There are a couple of notes on this, because a lot of people have been talking about, do you want to ban Gimmick Puppet or Ra's Disciple or the cards that summon those monsters? And I definitely think you're on if the card gets too good at summoning the monster to your opponent's field, then I think that's when it just deserves to be banned. I think it's simpler that way. Like, you don't want to hurt those Gimmick Puppet players and the Ra's Disciple players. And it's just or else you have to worry every time about printing a monster with a restriction and making sure it can't be summoned to your opponent's field. It's probably best to just make sure that the combos, the cards that actually summon to your opponent's fields, aren't that good. I know there is a new card in Cyberstorm Access that's a fusion that can do this kind of a similar combo, but it takes a light spellcaster monster, and I think it'll be a little bit harder to pull off and might not even be worth pulling off. So we'll see there. There's definitely, so it's just a fair discussion on what you should ban or what you should not ban. But I do think that the way Konami has been trending, they banned Scythe on the last ban list. They banned Barrier Statue on the last ban list. They're trending to ban these you can't play cards, which I think is good. And I think it's likely that they'll want to do the same with some sort of Gimmick Puppet combo and Diablosis. As you can see here, they hit the problem, right? They say, oh, we can ban Dagda, or we can ban Artifact, I forget what it's called, Artifact Sanctum, I think it's called, that summons from the deck. Right now, you ban the prom. I think the prom is Expulsion, and the prom is Diablosis. So I think that's where we're gonna go, and I hope that happens because I think it'd just be good, right? This is just kind of cleaning up the game a little bit. You know, no one's really gonna complain. Okay, let's talk limited. I personally think some of the runic cards, they just have to get hit. Limiting Fountain, I mean, you can, but that just doesn't seem great. I think the biggest proms are Tip and Hugin. Okay, Tip and Hugin. Tip is just, it's just so backbreaking when your opponent has it. I mean, you're like, you know, it's just a sigh. Like, you know, I mean, I if they want to ban this card, Runic Tip, I'm happy. Like, it kind of ruins the whole point of the archetype. The point of the archetype is to like kind of see what runic cards you can get, right? Like, you have to draw and hope that you get the runic cards, but Tip just makes that way too easy. Hugin is the same way. I mean, this card's summoned 80% of the time from the runic spell and traps. I'd just like to see some of the other ones summoned, right? Like, just, you know, hey, go. There's so many runic fusions. I think they're gonna want people to summon those. Hugin seems like an easy limit. Just, you know, stop. Okay, I imperm your Hugin, you synchro it off, summon another Hugin, get another fountain. It's like, feels like the game's over, right? So yeah, I think these limits just make sense. Just the runic engine needs a little bit of hit, and I think Pot of Prosperity also needs a hit. I mean, this card is just, it's the best pot, and it's still unlimited. It's actually not only is it like really good, it's actually a buff in Kashtira, because you just banish like the broken, like not the broken, but the really good stuff to attach to a Rise Heart, and this card is, I think, too broken. It's too easy to banish cards from your extra deck. I didn't realize, I mean, when this card was printed, I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know how good, and I thought it really came down to how important like, as long as your deck doesn't draw cards by card effects and you can afford to banish some cards from your extra deck, like, you're good. Like, just you're good. So I just think, yeah, I think Prosperity is probably a little bit too strong. Needs to go to 1, in my opinion. I think this card just, it's like every deck that can run 3 of it runs 3 of it, right? So it is what it is. But I think that card needs to go to 1. Okay, let's talk limited. Limited, this is interesting. So I don't think Diablosis is enough to stop the Mind Hacker or stop Kashtira, right? I think that the truth is that the deck is still really good. I mean, if you take a look in the OCG, they have Wraithsoth limited, they have Unicorn, Fenrir both limited, and the deck is still performing all right. So I think at least Unicorn needs to get hit. I mean, maybe they'll hit Fenrir, but I think Konami might enjoy seeing Fenrir in some of the, like, you know, as a splash card. I think they might like that. So Unicorn's a more targeted hit. I think this card at least deserves to be limited. I mean, you hit Prosperity, Unicorn, and Diablosis. I think it hurts the Kashtira deck a lot. We're seeing some new cards going to be injected into the format soon. I think it'll be pretty solid. Now, Sprite, surprisingly, I thought it was dead at the beginning of the list, but you know, the Sprite player, the engine is so good, and people have been so creative at coming up with a Sprite decks that, honestly, I mean, if you look at its meta percentage and its win rate, it's pretty high, amazingly. And I mean, like, it feels wrong to limit one of the Sprite cards. I mean, because they got their whole, like, their best card is banned in Sprite Elf. But I mean, if they're gonna touch Jet, because I honestly think this deck is still pretty good. I think they're probably touch Blue or Jet. I mean, this doesn't need to happen, but it's like, wow, the Sprites are a lot stronger than I thought they would be after the last ban list. So there you go. Maybe like if you hit Jet, it reduces the turtle combos, that sort of thing. I think a blue hit just feels like the death of the deck. But who knows? I mean, it's limited at 1 in the OCG, and I don't see any Sprites topping. But you know, that's that. And I think Skill Drain, I mean, it's pretty clear that they unlimited this card when Eldritch came out and Labyrinth, but I mean, this card is just not really like fair. I mean, you know, you've got like, it hits almost everything, right? Like, for example, Goes in Match is okay against Sprite, but not that amazing, right? You know, the Rivalry is not that great. I mean, Gozen and Rivalry are not that great. I mean, Gozen's pretty good against Kashtira, but it still gets outed by like Fenrir. But Skill Drain just beats everything. I mean, I'm playing 3 of it in my Dark World side deck right now. It's too good to not play. It feels like it hits everything. It's so generic. And it's maybe like a floodgate that is too wide in application and probably needs to go back to 1. I mean, it was at 1 for the longest time, and I think it probably could go back there. So, okay, that's my thought. I just, I think Skill Drain probably deserves to be at 1. Some cards that are banned right now that could be limited. Thunder Dragon Colossus, I mean, I honestly think this card's sketchy. Like it might not be able to come back because they kind of have been ignoring like what they're printing, like in the like they like don't think about Thunder monsters that much anymore. But honestly, like just why not, right? Just let them have it. Just let the decks have it. Like clearly this card is not that broken, right? I mean it is a mistake, which is annoying, but like, I mean, the OCG has, I think at least, a couple, right? Just let them have their Colossus, just one, and let's see what happens. If it really is that broken, which I don't think it'll be meta defining, but if it's actually pretty strong, and if you want to ban it again, ban it again. But I mean, like, come on, give the Thunder Dragon players something. Blaster, I mean, out of all the Dragon Lords, this one's probably fine to unban. I mean, it pops a card, ooh, terrifying, right? So yeah, I think just. Blaster's fine. At Global, they banned Hulk. Finally, all the cards that died for Hulk sins can come back to 1. And then Harp Horror, I mean, I think, again, this card will be strong, but I mean, is it going to be better than Purely or Super Heavy Samurai or Kashtira? No, I don't think so. I think totally fine to have this card at 1. And again, if it's too strong and you don't like it for some reason, you can always just reban it. Like, I don't think it'll be that strong, right? So it is what it is. Limited section notes. I do think the Bestials will have to be hit at some point. I mean, those cards are probably too powerful, and they're gonna squeeze all the light and dark decks kind of out of the meta until, there'll never be a really, really big meta of light and dark decks because Bestials are just that good against them. Looking at MathMech as well, that the data shows that deck is doing really well, but it gets countered by the stopping the super factorial, which the Bestials do, right? MathMech was pretty much gone during tier format because, or during the Bestial portion of that format, just because it was so, it like, okay, you go super factorial, I chain Bestial in your diameter and it does nothing. I mean, it searches a card, but who cares, right? I got a body and I stopped pretty much all your interruption. So I think that's that. I think MathMech is strong, but don't think it deserves or warrants a hit just yet. Because I think it almost by definition has to be Rogue because there are some strong cards that counter it. Semi-limited, I really don't think anything goes on here. The only thing I could see is Sprite Starter, but it's just like, again, Malicious is like the only card that should be on here, in my opinion. Unlimited, okay, there's a lot of cards here. I just picked up, like, I just found 10 on the ban list. They could all go to 3. I mean, there's like Gazelle, sure. Plushfire, sure. Cyberjar, I mean, really, this. Hey, if you beat me with Cyberjar, I'm shaking your hand and I'm wishing you good luck in your next rounds. Because, hey, you got me, all right? You got me with Cyberjar. Dragonic Diagram, I mean, really, like this, we have all these, I have Primitive Planet, Reichphobia, Race Sauce, Perla Rhino, New Menadome Planet, and you're telling me this one is the broken one. Yeah, I don't think so. Pot of Desires, I mean, it's a crime that Prosperity is at 3 and this card is at 2. Like, it's a crime to just be at 3, whatever. Sekka's Light, I mean, why is it at 1? I don't know. Draco Face Off, same thing. I mean, I haven't seen this card played in like years, right? It hasn't been played against me in years. Time Seal, I mean, I never had this card activated on me ever in my entire Yu-Gi-Oh career, and maybe that's saying something, but literally never have I been Time Sealed. Except, I mean, maybe once or twice, and I don't even remember it, but like, yeah, I've never been Time Sealed. Digesto Emerald, I mean, it's at 1 for some reason. Yeah, it could be at 3. I don't think there's any problem there. And then Recital Starling, I mean, it was a crime they limited this card in the first place, in my opinion, as well as banning the Samoric. Just, this card should be at 3. Pretty much no questions there. I'm sure there are so many other cards on the ban list, but these I think would actually, I mean, except for maybe Time Seal. Like the other, and probably Cyberjar, the other ones coming off the list will probably make some impact on some decks. Maybe not even Digesto Emerald either. Most decks only play 1 if they play it. So, yeah, I mean, just, some housekeeping. I like to just, let's thin out the ban list so when I read it, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, that card's banned. Wow, like, I have some respect for the ban list, some provenance, Okay, I think that's it, guys. That is it for the video. Let me know what you think. I am pretty like concerned about this banlist. I think it's going to be a big one. I think it's very important. It's going to set the tone for the rest of the year. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this prediction. Drop your own in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're trekking to 10,000 subscribers. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one.